The beginning of an icon. Frida Kahlo was a Mexican artist known for her fantastical and uncompromising self-portraits that delved into subjects like death, identity, and her human body. The surrealist label is often associated with her, even though, throughout the years, she denied it. Her colorful, bold art and self-portraits have left a lasting impression. Among Mexicans, she is admired for drawing attention to Mexican and indigenous culture, and among feminists, for portraying the experiences and forms of women. She painted 143 self-portraits, 55 of which were her own. Frida was born in 1907 in a village on the outskirts of Mexico City. Her father was a German photographer, wherein moving to Mexico City in 1907, he would meet Frida's mother. Frida was especially close to her father, and she would spend days on end helping him out in his photography studio, where she got a taste for the arts. But even though she loved helping her dad out, and even took some drawing lessons from a family friend, she never really thought much more of it. Instead, she was fascinated by the sciences and biology, and dreamed of one day becoming a doctor. Frida's young life would be plagued with disease and catastrophe. When she was 6, she caught polio, which caused her right leg to become thinner and shorter than her left. Later in life, Frida became well known for wearing long, colorful skirts, something that she started wearing to hide her leg as a child. When Frida was 18, she was traveling with her boyfriend on a wooden bus when it collided with a streetcar. Frida was nearly killed in the crash when an iron handrail went into her hip and came out the other side. On top of this, she also broke her spinal column, collarbone, ribs, pelvis, right leg in 11 places, and dislocated her shoulder. Although she did eventually recover, she had to have 35 operations over her life to help with her spinal injuries, and she lived with chronic pain. However, everything changed for young Frida when she began to paint during her long recovery. She would sit in her bed with an easel, mostly painting self-portraits by looking at herself in a mirror across the room. This became a habit that would change her life forever. The broken column, when art imitates life. The broken column was painted shortly after Frida had undergone surgery on her spinal column. The operation left her bedridden and enclosed in a metal corset, which would help to alleviate her intense and constant pain she was in. The painting depicts Frida standing in the middle of a completely arid and cracked landscape. Her torso is encased in metal belts lined with fabric that provide pressure and support for her back, which help prevent her body from collapsing. A fractured metal column is seen replacing her spinal column. Frida had an amazing ability to provide the viewer with an emotional reaction that made her work hard to put down. Although you can visually see a painful image of herself, her strong gaze leaves you wondering. Although her face is filled with tears, it doesn't reflect any signs of pain. Her facial expression represents an attitude of which she always displayed throughout all of her paintings, one that is nearly always strong and defiant. The nails piercing her body are a representation of the constant pain she faced throughout her life. The large ones represent damage caused by her accident. Those seen on her left breast are in regard to her emotional pain and feeling of solitude. When asked throughout the years why she often portrayed herself, she replied that it was because she always was alone and because herself was what she knew best. Creating amidst death. This work is known as thinking about death. During the later years of Frida's life, she was constantly bothered by numerous illnesses and health complications. In 1943, she painted this self-portrait as her health was deteriorating. During that period, she had to be bedridden for most of the time of her day. Her poor health caused the thought of death to constantly linger in her mind. In this painting, death is symbolized as a skull and crossbones, which shows up in her forehead. In ancient Mexican culture, death also means rebirth and life. In this famous portrait, she is rested against a background that is filled with lavish green leaves, which is known for being a symbol of life. It seems Frida understood that death is a path to another form of life. This work is another example of Frida's unique way of portraying her thoughts, emotions, and even current position in life for her viewer to feel. Through each one of her works, we get a better understanding of her as a person. We feel her. She is but a rose that grew from concrete. She is her own character and her own story.